Welcome to the Crazy Cool Family Podcast with Don and Suzanne Manning.
A podcast where we share with you great insights about everything family from over 30 years of parenting 7 kids and over a decade of equipping parents through our Crazy Cool Family ministry.
So let us inspire and equip you to build your best family.
Welcome, everyone who is listening. Welcome, Suzanne.
Hello, Don.
Just me and Suze here.
We're just talking about,
away.
Parenting stuff. We're working on that kid to parent or parent to kid relationship line.
Yeah, don't ever say the kid first. Because I love the topic of today, which is grace versus discipline. We're going to unpack that.
Yeah, and so grace and discipline, can you really do both? Can you do both of those?
Oh, and so many times are you a disciplined parent? Are you a grace parent? Are you a grace-filled parent or are you a discipline-filled parent? Which one are you? And the discipline one is harsh and the grace one is easy and they just let everything run all over.
It's a pushover,
yeah. It's such a pushover, but man, we're going to bring that together today to say, but yet discipline, Hebrews said God disciplines those he loves. Mm-hmm. And yet also our God is full of grace. And it is by grace you've been saved through faith, not by works, so that no man can boast. So, both are essential elements of God and both are a part of parenting. And they're not, as we're going to talk about, they're not an either or.
It's not a versus. That's exactly right.
It's actually a both hand.
Yeah, they partner with for sure. Because if you think about grace, if the super simple definition for grace is just favor and goodwill. If you think about discipline, it's training to the standards. And so, of course, you want to train your children to the standards. What if you did it with favor and goodwill?
Yeah.
Chances are that they're going to adhere to those standards in a great way because they feel respected, they feel loved, they feel guided, they feel accepted, they feel known and seen. And so when we use grace with discipline, we get a beautiful result.
Yeah, and also God, in his infinite wisdom, he equates standards with freedom. And, in Galatians 5:1, it says it's for freedom that Christ set us free. And what does freedom look like? And, we think about the standards and we go, oh gosh, I got to hit the standards. Mm-hmm. But then God says, no, let's bring about freedom. Freedom means that we have the power and the desire and the will and the belief to do the standards, to do it God's way. Well, guess what, guys? The goal of discipline is freedom. The goal of discipline is that we have a desire in our hearts. So this is what leads us away from parent control to self-control is that you want your child to want to do things right. You got to get to the heart and instill in them the belief. Well, Guess what? When you do that, when you have that attitude, you have to have grace to bring it about. And I think about grace as like an attitude. It's you can either have an attitude of judgment,
that's
or
good.
you can have an attitude of acceptance, of understanding, of compassion. Jesus said, "Hey guys, before you reach out and take that speck out of your brother's eye, why don't you take that plank out of yours?" Mm-hmm. And so, having an attitude, that's to me is grace. It doesn't mean that you don't talk about the things and help your child build the character and all the things that happen, but it's the attitude in which you present things.
I love it. It's like it's a perspective. It's the glasses that you see things through. Are you seeing it through frustration and anger and unmet expectations? Or are you seeing it through favor?
Which really means that grace and discipline go together.
Absolutely.
They come together in the and it's how we interact with our children to draw them, inspire them towards the standards, towards having freedom in Christ.
Okay, let me just do a quick commercial break, a plug for the deep dive that we've got coming out. It's called A Meltdown Monster. We have parents ask us all the time, what do you do when your kid's freaking out? And so we did one of our little deep dives.
That's probably one of the hardest things for me to deal with, even as a grandparent. I do not like it when I want to read this PDF because I haven't read this one, but I just want to it drives me crazy when kids melt down.
And so we're going to just talk about the why behind the meltdown. Once a lot of times when we're empowered with the why, then we can understand it a little bit better.
Yeah,
and then how to handle them, what to do.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the time parents don't know what to do. Maybe grandparents don't know what to do when the kid's melting down.
I thought, we've kind of been parenting again as we go through this second, we've got 8 grandkids and a couple more on the way. And, but I just find a lot of times I can be patient and I can be a grandpa and just, be just pops, and then they melt down for no reason, or they're mean.
Oh, there's always a reason,
yeah.
babe. I mean, you might not have any idea what it is.
Yeah. Or they're super mean, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm losing my self-control. What's happening? So I'm so I can really relate to that whole meltdown thing. That's really good.
And so as we were writing this, the Lord gave me a breakdown for the word monster. And so monster is my only need to start emotionally regulate. And so I love it that you said you start losing your self-control. And so a lot of the times when we have our child as a meltdown monster, we become a monster as well. And so if we can think about that, okay, my only need is to start to emotionally regulate. That's what we all need to emotionally regulate. That's a new word. That wasn't a word back in the day.
And that's actually our next podcast for the kids, actually. That's what we're going to talk about next week. So we can look to that.
As well.
I think my shameless plug for our product is also, and we were reading this again. We don't read our product all the time, but I was reading it again for this preparation for this podcast. We have a guide called Creating Family Culture, and in there is one of our core concepts at Crazy Cool Family. One of our core culture concepts is called relational discipline. And I was just reading back through there, and that's another. So those two sources, getting the Monster Meltdown PDF, and if you don't have our Creating Family Culture guide, you can purchase a discounted rate, the family bundle. You can go to our site. It's 2 guides in our book. It should be in every parent's library, in our opinion, and just a source for you all the time. But in particular, there's that resource for relational discipline. And I was reading back through it, and I'm like, oh my goodness. Because it really is the culmination of things that we learned and things that worked, and
the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
That's where 98% of the credit goes to. Is the Holy Spirit is wise beyond experience.
But a couple of products that would be super helpful to you guys. We're talking to you a little bit, going deeper, because if you get here's the deal. If you get what we call it in the deal, relational discipline, which means you're disciplining with grace and with a great attitude, man, your discipline will be so much more effective. I mean, off the charts, more effective. So if you're having discipline issues, great resource to do. And it's not that hard. The concepts are not that hard. They're kind of hard to implement them sometimes because you got to change your own heart.
Yeah.
But but learning it, understanding it, not so tough. You can do it.
Okay, so enough about the commercial. Let's talk about what's the balance between grace and discipline. So how do you balance those? Because a lot of the times it's like, am I being too soft? Am I being too harsh? What is that? And so a lot of the times, okay, the short answer is if your kids are running all over you, you're being too soft. If your kids are curled up in the fetal position on the floor and can't look at you, you're being too harsh.
Been there, done that. I never will forget at one time. I won't tell which daughter it is, but literally I got onto her for something, and I thought, no big deal, right? I mean, I literally did not think it was that big a deal. And we had a 2-story house, and I was like, where is this daughter? And I walk up, and she's in the bathroom, sitting on the floor with her arms around her knees, just sobbing on the cold bathroom floor, and all because of what I said to her. And I was like,
because you were harsh. And there you go. So there's your
goodness. I was like, what a miserable human being I am. I mean, this is, but we all have to learn.
And so discipline doesn't ever need to be harsh. Like it's not. That's not good discipline. Discipline doesn't require you or need you to be harsh.
Define what you mean by harsh, because I think that some parents, when you say discipline doesn't need to be harsh, it feels like you're taking away their power to discipline. Like they can't be firm, and they can't be. So
firm is a great word. I love the word firm. Just think about
so
those
what's the
two
difference
words.
between firm and harsh?
Firm is respectful. Firm, there's no anger in firm. Harsh, there's emotion, the parent's emotion is tied up in harsh. There's an unmet expectation in harsh. Firm is, I want better for you. I want this for you. I see your potential. I see that you're honest, or you're hardworking, or you're whatever the issue is that they need to be disciplined in, and we see the other side of it for them. And firmness puts them back on the path and guides them.
Back to your question,
harsh derails them.
Yeah.
Harsh is covered in emotion. Harsh is an attack, me attacking you, and so that's a great definition.
Well, and I think also we asked the question, and I'm going back to the question because it's kind of the flip side of it. How do I show empathy without reinforcing bad behavior? There's this concept. Well, for example, there's a concept, and it used to be, you used to tell me this, Suzanne, when you were a young mom, I don't think they'll listen to me unless I yell at them.
Okay, I trained them, though. I trained them not to, because I would be kind, and then I had to yell at them because I wasn't firm. And so that's a great,
and so on the other hand, we think that empathy means we allow things.
Yes.
And there is a portion of empathy that says, and part of good discipline is pick your spots.
Right.
It really is. There's a difference though in this is hard to explain, but I think I'm going to try. That there's a difference between being a pushover parent and picking your spots.
Yes.
The pushover parent says, you know what? I'm just going to clean their room for them because I don't want to have to train them to do it. I'm just going to do it for them. I'm going to make their life easy, whatever it is. The discipline, the parent that has empathy says, you know what? He's 7 years old, and it's hard for him to learn to clean his room. He's not, he doesn't mentally,
see it.
Physically, he's not ready for it. But I'm going to work with him with patience and with love, understanding that he is 7, not 17 or even 27. And I'm going to work with him to learn how to train him to. So you see how grace and discipline go together?
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, he'll never, he's just a baby. He doesn't know how to clean his room. I need to go do it for him.
I love it. So making excuses for them, that's a soft parent. You can't do that. But empathy, the word empathy and understanding go together. And so as parents, don't excuse with understanding, ask for understanding. Help me understand. You can say that to your child, like when your child hits their sibling. Okay, help me understand why you hit your sibling. So your empathy is you're wanting to see where that's coming from.
She took my toy.
Exactly. So now, but that doesn't mean that discipline doesn't need to happen. Oh, well, there's going to be a consequence with that. I understand that you were frustrated that she took your toy and you were playing with it and that bothered you. And so you've now empathy, you've understood, you've asked for, you've got input from them. Discipline comes hand in hand with that grace, with that empathy. And it says, great, I completely understand that. You know what? I'd be frustrated too if she took my toy. It's unacceptable. You may not hit your sister no matter what. The consequence for hitting your sister is, whatever that is, washing your hand, having a timeout, not getting to play with the toy, hugging the sister, serving the sister. There's a long list of things that would be the consequence to the action that needs to be put into place.
And if you want to avoid that the next time, you don't hit your sister.
And you say that's exactly right. And so, you know what? I hope next time when your sister takes your toy, and she will, she's going to take it probably 100 more times, probably just this year. Just going ahead and lay it out there, reality. How are you going to use your self-control? And so that's grace circled all around the discipline, but the kid's not running all over you. So, yeah. Okay, so that kind of goes into the last, how do you discipline with love and respect? And I think that a lot of the times parents think, they think they have to be angry to discipline. And if I could just wash that away, that actually the opposite of discipline, is anger. I mean, you can't do those two together. Discipline is to disciple somebody, to come along beside them. Think about Jesus. He wasn't angry with his disciples, and they were dumb. A lot of the time we're rewatching The Chosen and we're like, wow, they're so dumb. And I keep thinking, if I was walking with Jesus, I wouldn't be that dumb. But then it's kind of like, well, I've read the scriptures.
And I still do some of those things.
Yeah, I'm still dumb. So,
yeah. Well, and I think a belief that I love to instill in parents that I feel like I've learned myself, again, we can learn it, but we may not practice it all the time, but we know it's there, is that when we discipline with disrespect, we are actually doing damage to our discipline efforts. So let me give you an example. Like if I'm a yelling, angry parent, I will create fear in my kids and they will avoid me. Mm-hmm. Okay, and they will mock me behind my back. And
you've ruined all opportunities to disciple them.
But basically, by me being an angry, yelling parent, and maybe a parent that is more what's the word I'm looking for? They're real picky, and then they get angry about anything. Like, let's say it's a baseball player, and they every time they swing something, every time they get out, the dad says, why didn't you do that? You didn't swing hard enough. You're not this and all this. And they yell and they're doing all things. Well, basically, they're creating a relationship with their kid where the kid's going to avoid them. They're going to mock them behind their back, and they're going to disrespect them. So the dad has actually created those things.
Yeah.
Well, if I can have, love and respect, for example, when Michael was older, he was 12 years old, I said, hey, I would tell him things like, man, do you want to be a great baseball player? And he would say, yes, I do. Okay. Tell me what you think we need to do to make that happen. And, versus that you can picture the dad I'm talking about just all over a kid all the time. And how do you help them so we could have respectful discussions in order to help him to be motivated. What I wanted him to do was be motivated himself to be a good baseball player. And then I could come in and help him.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And so for sure to motivate them. And one of the things that you brought up was anger, that you can't discipline with anger. I mean, and so what does love and respect look like? Well, I feel like the opposite of anger is to encourage them, is to encourage good behavior. One of the best ways to disciple someone is to catch them doing what's right, catch them doing it, and then talk about that and encourage them.
Yeah, we think that discipline has to be catching things that are wrong.
Yeah,
but
exactly. No, not at all. Yeah. And so I think about the situation of back to the 7-year-old, cleaning their room, and they're not doing a very good job of it. And you walk in and you say, well, you left that on the floor and you didn't do that and your bed's wrinkled. You could go. And so, therefore you can't go outside and play for the next 10 minutes, and so that would be one way to handle that situation. Yeah. They're being punished because they didn't do it to your standards. Or you could walk in and you could say, you have done such a great job. This room looks amazing. Yeah. I'm going to pick up this piece on the floor because that needs to go in the dirty clothes.
Thinking about how you combine discipline with grace. I mean, that's just a great example. As an example, another corollary to that example is, let's say you walk in and you've asked your child to clean their room and it's looked good. I mean, just going over the top. Hey, Suzanne, come here. Oh my goodness! You've got to see this. Get all the
other kids. Yes. Get your sibling.
Do you see this room? Oh my goodness! This is amazing. And you just watch them. If it's they're just little chests poke out. And their just shoulders go back, and they think because now discipline so often is reinforcing the good things as you try to adjust the things that aren't going so well.
That's so valuable and so important to understand. A lot of the times we connect discipline with punishment, and I would actually say that discipline works a lot better without punishment. Don't use punishment. By all means, use consequences for their actions. They have consequences, but what consequences do is it just teaches them to be on the right path again, and then use that superpower of encouragement to feed that good behavior.
Yeah. So, for example, what she's talking about is if your teenager never has their cell phone because they're always getting grounded from it, then chances are you're probably on the harsh side and probably need to adjust a little bit. If your teenager's always grounded or always in trouble for something, well, they did things wrong. I mean, come on, Don. They okay, I get it. They did things wrong, but I mean, if they're in this cycle of punishment all the time, you're creating in them a deceptive spirit, as well as a little bit of maybe a rebellious spirit as well.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you brought that up. Just take a second and just think about each one of your children. Are any of them in a little season where they're just getting in trouble a lot, where they're needing to be disciplined a lot? And if so, then I would encourage you to go over the top in encouraging them. I would encourage you to encourage them and see if that punishment downward spiral, or not if that misbehavior downward spiral changes.
Yeah, I think that, as we look at our 7 kids, I think about all the different stages of life. I mean, there were times that they just got on my every last nerve. I mean, they really did. And yet
there's certain ages.
Yeah.
It's
yeah. And so, I mean, and I want to say to parents, especially with discipline and grace and how to do it, hey, this too shall pass, because I remember thinking those seasons would never end, that meltdown monster, of whatever was going to happen. And it does last a year. It does last, times that the, middle schoolers, oh my goodness, they're just, difficult in so many ways. And they're going through so many changes and things. But, that I want to just say, hey, this too shall pass, because I go back to, you said, discipline's about training, not about punishment. And also, empathy is about attitude. It's about seeing it for what it is. And that's why the fruit of the Spirit has patience in it.
Yeah, that's good.
Things like that. So,
okay. So as we wrap up, are we ready to wrap up? Are you
Sure.
feeling like wrapping up?
Sure.
You feel like we can? Okay. I just want to put this question.
Oh, wait, hang on. Before
Okay.
you put this question in, there is one thing I want to get in that I want to make sure it's actually in the culture, relational discipline session, but it's a great example. The last thing I want to say about discipline before we get into this last question you're talking about.
Right. No.
So,
love it. Spread more wisdom. Give more.
Well, this is an illustration you came up with. So it's you that was being wise. As most of our parenting material is, I just walked behind Suzanne and wrote down the wisdom. That's what I did.
And I just listened to the Holy Spirit. So there. If
If
only he'd listened to the Holy Spirit. No.
How do you put grace and discipline together? Okay, so in this in the culture guide, there's an illustration, and the illustration shows a line being drawn, and in the line, or on both sides of the line, are your kid and you, and you're on opposite. You're on the opposite sides of the line, and you are opposed to each other, and that's the way discipline feels. It's you've done something wrong, and I have to correct you, and I don't want to correct you, but I'm angry,
so I have to get angry, so I will correct you. Yeah.
And all those things are there, and so and really, as we've adapted the illustration over time, what I tell parents is think of, you're on one side of the line, and they're on the other side of the line, and then God is behind you. Mm-hmm. So God is behind you, but when you are on the other side opposing them, and you start to lecture and you start to do all the things that we do as parents, and we start to just be angry and everything else, we actually become bigger in the child's eyes. And so if you think about it, your child can't see God because you are blocking God with your actions. And all they want to do is turn and run away. Mm-hmm. They will do whatever it takes to have you stop yelling at them, to stop lecturing them, to stop disapproving them, whatever it is that you're doing that they feel from you. Okay, so then Suzanne says, hey, what if instead of being against them on the other side of the line, you come on the side of the line with them.
Instead of face to face, you're shoulder to shoulder.
You're shoulder to shoulder, and you turn around and you look to see what God is saying.
Mm-hmm. And you point to God to them and say, what is God saying about this?
Them to God. And you talk about it in those terms, especially as they get older. So you have a situation, and they have they've done something wrong or whatever. And so something Suzanne will say is, hey, where do you think God is in that? And then all of a sudden now it's not you versus them. It's, hey, have I hit a standard? Is God what do I want to do to that? And, well, I probably need to forgive that person, and I need to go ask forgiveness. Wow, that's a great idea. I think
Yeah.
that sounds like that's God to me. So I wanted to read, so we were talking about grace and discipline and how it goes together. And when that happens, then it is a marvelous thing because you get the high standards and you also get the high relationship.
Yeah, that's so good. I'm so glad you brought that up because that's a great visual of where are you standing to ask yourself, parents, because a lot of the times we think we need to go face to face with our kids when they mess up, when there's a situation, when they need to be disciplined. And we just want to encourage you that that's not at all how God intends it. God intends us to be on the same side of the line because we're the ones that bring the wisdom. We're the ones that bring the experience. And so we need to help them, come along beside them, put our arm around their shoulder and seek God together in the situation. Okay, so we've left that visual with you. And I just want to ask you this. What do you want to grow in the moment? Do you want it to be fear or trust? How do you want to connect?
I want to grow trust.
How do you want to connect?
Did I get the right answer? Did I get the answer right?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. And so then if that's the answer, if you pick trust, then how are you going to build the trust? How are you going to my mom used to say all the time, they're just little people. And so if we treat them with the respect and the value that any other person, deserves, then you're going to start building that trust. If you come at them because you're bigger than them with your anger, then you're going to create that fear that, like Dawn had mentioned earlier, that they're not going to want to be around you. They're going to avoid you. And so
been there, done that too.
Yeah. And so as parents, we just want to use discipline as the goal of a long-term connection, not short-term compliance. We want to be connected with our kids. We want to see their mess ups as an opportunity to connect with them for the long haul.
Yeah, just remember, and discipline takes time. To be disciplined, think about your own life and how much you want to be more disciplined than you are, and how and how you want it, but it's hard, and it's the same thing for your kids, and that's what leads to grace. Is because we realize everybody's on a journey, and we realize that and then we don't, and it leads to not being so frustrated, and then just apologizing when you are frustrated. Just taking those, creating short accounts in your relationships. Grace and discipline. I think it's been a great discussion today, and excited to see you guys in your lives take maybe adjust your approach a little bit to discipline or maybe if you're on that grace side to maybe say, hey, I can have those standards. I can step into those.
Please do. Nobody likes bratty children.
So as always, go be crazy parents, crazycoolfamily.com.